Welcome back to Old Goats Moto. We are just back from the King of the Motos 2024. And Justin, the race organizer, and also the one who laid out the course, did a killer job setting up this race. It has to be the hardest King of the Motos for me personally. Now that could be because I'm older. I had zero physical training, and I had lack nutritional discipline. Any one of those could have been a factor as to why this was harder for me personally. But nonetheless, he laid out a killer course, at least what I got to see of it. He laid out a really, really awesome course. So this is Sunday's race. Saturday was qualifying, and what Saturday consisted of was a land rush up Turkey Claw, which is on the other side of the lake bed. Land rush up Turkey Claw, and then 2 laps, each lap becoming a little harder. And then however you placed on Saturday's race, how you finished on Saturday's race, is how you lined up for today's race, or Sunday's race, the main race. And as you can see, I am about 5 rows back, meaning my Saturday didn't go as well as I had hoped. How do they say it? Saturday's race was a shit show for me. Pardon my French. So here we are. We've got some rain overnight, and we are starting off in Chocolate Thunder. 3 laps, each lap becoming harder. I think the first lap was 14-ish miles. The second lap was, I think, 16, 17 miles, I believe. I could have that wrong. And then the last lap is 10. And again, they progressively get harder. The pits was right here, kind of to our left, behind us. And the start and finish was here at Chocolate Thunder. We got rain overnight, like I was saying, which gave us great traction in the sand, as much traction as you can have in the sand. And then it minimized how much dust, so you could ride right on the back of somebody's tire, and it was awesome for that. However, the rain did make the rocks a lot slippier, at least until about halfway or midday, and then the sun came out and started drying out the rocks, and it was just perfect racing conditions. So she's getting ready to drop the flag, and we're off. Face full of sand. So most guys are going to take that left main line. I thought, I'm just going to get behind all these guys. That guy's getting ready to do an endo. So I kind of went through the rocks here. I thought I would go up this. You can see that all the sand, the wet sand, is now on these rocks. It makes it super slick. So here's our bottleneck. Everybody's coming in, both sides. Everybody's just trying to get a piece of real estate at this point. At this point, you almost need to be patient. You can look to the far right, look to the far left, and you're trying to find some route around this big bottleneck. However, a lot of times, now this is all pending if you don't have the skill set of the pros to where they just billy goat around the mountain like it's a paved highway. If you don't have that skill set, then trying to go outside, too crazy outside of the main kind of course, if you will, you almost spend so much energy trying to go around the bottleneck that sometimes, not always, but sometimes it's worth just staying in line, getting in the Congo line, and just creep your nose forward each time, and then just kind of pick your way through, kind of wait until you get a chance to go through, and hopefully all these little uphill climbs you nail, and everything goes the way it's supposed to, and you can pick your way through this pile up with minimal energy spent. This is the first, 1,000 feet of the course. You cannot win the race right here, but you definitely can physically blow yourself up right here if you just totally put all your energy into this 1,000 feet, or whatever this length of this Chocolate Thunder is here. I've spent in years past, I have spent what feels like 30 minutes in this Chocolate Thunder area. And by the time you get out of it, kind of into this area or even the top of this hill, at least for me personally, I'm so spent that it's like the whole rest of the race, I'm toast. So I was pretty happy with the way this started. I got through that Chocolate Thunder with relatively little energy spent. I was still huffing and puffing, but I got through there pretty quick. I don't know what the actual time was. I want to say like 4 minutes I got through there. That's pretty quick. Obviously not as quick as the pros. Those guys go through in about 30 seconds. But it wasn't bad for me personally. I'm on a 2019 KTM XCW TPI, and I've done a couple modifications to it. I did the 2-stroke performance medium compression head. I reflashed the ECU to match that head. And then I did the oil delete, and I also did their injector relocator kit. I've got Nitro Moose bibs front and rear. They're just the Platinum series or version, so they're like 10 to 12 PSI feel. And then I'm running a 1251 SRT off-road sprockets. I know you can't see the graphics in the video, but I want to give a shout out to Cody at Olmi Creations, who did a killer job on the Old Goats Moto graphics for the race. So we're heading across the flats right now, and we are heading towards the first of many canyons. So this year they added a couple classes. So they've got the Pro. They obviously started on the front row. They got A class, or the Pro, the A class 30 plus, A class 40 plus, A class 50 plus, 4 strokes, and then I think they go B class, B30, B40, and C class. A Pro Women is somewhere in there. I forget exactly. I don't have the classes in front of me, but so the pros, the A's, the 30s, the 40s are in front of us, and then us old guys are picking up here. So I'm not really sure who's in my class or not, other than the guys who were on the line. Not sure who's in front of me, who's in back. You're just racing your own race. You're just trying to survive. This race is more of a survival race for us mere mortals. The pros, I think, did all 3 loops in, I think it was 3 hours and some change, maybe, or maybe even 2 hours and some change. I forget, 2-3 hours. Fast. The time limit, I believe, was 5 hours and 15 or 5 hours, 30 minutes, something like that. And then they would be timed out. So, yeah, tough race. We're getting into the first kind of bottleneck that we find, and there will be multiple bottlenecks, but this is the first one. You can see that we're getting kind of drawn into this narrow canyon that you're really not going to go up high on the left, and you're really not going to go up to the right much. There is a rule that says that you can't be more than 50 feet either side of the main GPS trail. So you can't just go up to the left and ride the ridge past all the obstacles. You have to stay in the canyon, or at least within 50 feet of that center GPS trail. So here we are going into the first little bottleneck. And you can see that my GoPro is, well, actually it's not the GoPro. I got rid of the GoPro. I'm running the brand new Insta Ace Pro with the flip up screen. Love it so far. Love it. It's awesome. Anyways, you can see that it's fogging up. So it's just the nature of the beast when you've got cold and hot temperatures mixing up there. So this The whole race is really about minimizing your effort, conserving your stamina, if you will. If you have the skill set to ride like this, it's not that bad. It's minimizing how much effort it's taking you to ride this. And that's really, I think, in my case at least, I have the skill set to ride this stuff. When you get tired, however, you start making dumb mistakes. And then you fall over. And then you're picking your bike up. And that just adds to the effort or the energy that you're spending to pick up the bike because you tipped it over because you didn't put your foot in the right spot. And it's compounding problem when you start getting tired. So, going back to my physical fitness, if I had some physical fitness, I would have done a lot better in this race, I think. So it's pretty early on in the race for me to be already flailing around and getting tired. But it is what it is. And you can see that on the right-hand side, there was guys that had gone straight up the canyon. And I'm looking at my GPS, and you can see that it's showing that the route goes up and to the left. So those guys are going down the canyon. That's the wrong way. We got to go up this hill right here. And when we get to the top, it'll veer to the left and continue on. So we continue down the canyon for a ways, and then eventually we make a right out of the canyon. And we're coming into kind of the first bottleneck. There'll be a bottleneck here where people are trying different lines to get through. And then we'll round the corner to the left. And then we'll get into our first true bottleneck. You can see a guy up on the right-hand side. I believe he lost a chain, a master link. So he's out there fixing his chain. Taking a much-needed break here while everybody kind of picks their way through these rocks. And, going back to the master link, there's always a chance in all these rocks of popping a master link off. So it's always a good idea to carry a master link with you just in case you can't find your master link when it finally comes off. Here I am struggling, and I'm going to do my best impersonation of a Caltrans worker. So here we are, we finally made it up to the pack, and it is a narrow part in the canyon where there's basically one, maybe two lines through here. So everybody's again back in a Congo line just waiting their turn. Like we were talking about at the start, you can see a guy on the far right over here just trying a different line. If he can make that line work, he can pass up 10, 12, 15 people, depending upon how far he can make it on the right-hand side. So you just feel helpless when you're just sitting here waiting and you feel like, I gotta keep moving forward, which you do, but all the energy he's spending right there, you gotta weigh the options. Am I gonna spend so much energy trying to go around everybody? And maybe that doesn't even work. And then you've spent all that energy and you don't get around anybody. Or maybe it works and you get past 20 people and you take off. So, it's a roll of the dice for sure. So now I'm going to try shooting this gap. In my head, it's going to work perfect. Flip the throttle, bink, go up. And yeah, in reality, it doesn't work like that. So now I'm stuck in a hole. So now I've got to use more energy to get it stuck out of this hole. Energy that I don't have, by the way. So, yeah, when you get tired, it just your problems start compounding. All right, so I tried a different line. So now I want to pop up and get up around this corner, but I've got that rock on the left. It kicks me over. Now the bike is upside down, just spinning way more energy than I really need to, or I should. Again, you come into this section when you're fresh, you probably go around it no problem, or I go around it no problem, or with little problem. But as soon as you're tired, the wheels come off the bus. So finally got through that mess, and you can see the sun's out now. It's a perfect day for riding, and we're just heading to the next checkpoint, or to the first checkpoint. So this race is going down a canyon, coming up a canyon, going down a canyon, coming up a canyon. Sometimes it's wide like this where the cars have come through. Sometimes no cars have been on it, and it's just a single track motorcycle path through there. This is a pretty fun little section. Too bad I couldn't have enjoyed it more because I was still huffing and puffing, but a lot of fun. A lot of rocks, a lot of loose baby head rocks that are just waiting to roll underneath your front wheel and send you down into these bigger rocks. So we just came out of that canyon, and we're getting ready to dump back into another canyon. So we're in this canyon, and we know Tristan Hart and Cody Weber coming up, so we're trying to get out of the way. And there comes Tristan. He's running the number 1 plate. Cody's right behind him, and these guys just make small work of these rocks that, we're taking 10-15 minutes to get up, and they just billy goat around like they're not even there. And then obviously my dismay with my hand. Can't believe that they made it look so easy. So we have a couple more pros coming through, so most of us are just kind of leaning out of the way so some of these pro riders can get through, so we don't mess up their race too bad. So we just watched the pros come through and take this line, and it looks easy from here, so I thought, I think I got this. Yeah, I didn't have it. So we finally made it out of that canyon, got into the flats. We just passed checkpoint 1, I think it is. Yeah, I think it's checkpoint 1. So we're just in a transition here, running across the flats, get into a little single track, go over the top of the hill, and drop into another little canyon. And so we are now entering that canyon. So Justin, the race director, the one that laid out this course, said that this first lap, I believe it was the first lap, had about 70% all new virgin trails. And this is an example of one of them here. You can see there's a single line because there's obviously the pros have been through it. And then folks that are in front of me have gone through it. But other than that, it's a pretty virgin trail. So further down this canyon, if you look to the right, it's a pretty good drop off there. It's probably 10 feet. And you're going around a rock on the left, so a couple little sketchy spots. So I'm working my way around this left-handed hairpin corner, and I'm going to pop over this rock, or attempt to. And it's about this point that I realize that I have at some point ripped off my right foot peg. If you've ever tried to ride a motorcycle without both foot pegs, it's not easy. And when you're going downhill or trying to go over obstacles, you use those foot pegs to weight the inside outside. It makes riding this dirt bike a little bit more difficult, for sure.
No foot, no peg, foot on. God damn.
Finally getting to the bottom of the canyon, going to drop out into this more sandy, flat-ish ravine. I'm kind of happy to see this. So when we dropped into that canyon and I saw sandy bottom, ravine. I should have known that it wasn't going to stay that way. And of course, I don't know, 1,000 feet down the road, we come into this rock pile, or this rock garden. And without that foot peg, so I'm having to sit on the bike the whole time. Well, it just wears you out. You know, we discussed this race is, one aspect of it is navigation. And you can see the little red off to the left-hand side there, the red arrows there. There's very few of those on the trail. 90% of what you're looking at is going to be the GPS there on my bars, and you're following that line. Now, he will put some arrows in certain spots that are dangerous spots, that maybe it's a high-speed section and there's a drop-off or something like that. Or like that, where there are some trails going up that way and you could get confused if you're not looking at your GPS. So he'll keep you in the ravine, but like I said, 90% of this is right off of that GPS. And here I took a high line thinking that would have been better because there was a guy on the left, on the right, but it wasn't as good as I thought. So now I'm having to creep my way down back into the ravine. And I guess this would be a canyon, more of a canyon than a ravine. And as soon as we are out of one canyon, we are going to make a right and go back up another canyon. Johnson Valley has some killer canyons. Here we are going up another one. So I got a guy behind me here, and I'm going to let him go by. It does two things for me. It gives me a chance to catch my breath, and I get to see the line.
Nice.
Normally this isn't a difficult thing, right, when you got both pegs, but without that right peg, you saw I took my foot off of the left there because I had to get real close to the rock. Well, normally you'd have your foot on the right peg, you take your left foot off the peg and skirt the side of that rock. But when you got to take both feet off and there's no place to put that right foot, it makes it a little bit more challenging. So I passed checkpoint 2 a ways back, and coming up here to the right is a trail called Downtown, probably the hardest trail out of the whole course. And if you look at my GPS, you can see that the dark line is going straight, and then it makes almost a 90-degree turn to the right. However, I don't catch it. I'm not looking at my GPS at this point. I'm looking at this semi-beaten-in trail where the dirt is a little bit, a little darker. So I'm following this thing, and you can see on that GPS that I should be making a right, but I don't. I'm following this, what I feel is the track, and I'm pretty beat up at this point. I'm tired. The Saturday's race kind of kicked my butt. Not kind of, it did. And so I'm just kind of in survival mode. I got to get this broken bike, to the finish. So I'm following this thing, and you can't really see on the video, but there's guys in a truck, a couple trucks, parked at the top of this mountain that I saw as I came across the flats. So I'm thinking they're course workers. I see this burnt-in trail. So I'm making my way up this thing, trying to do it in one shot without stopping. And I think it's about here that I happen to stall it or something like that. And I look down at my GPS and realize I'm off course.
Holy fuck. Oh fuck, let's go that way. Shit. I was supposed to go that way.
So the last thing I needed was extra miles.
Hey!
So I head back down, make the left, and start heading up into this canyon. So while reviewing the footage for this video, I realized that the last hour and a half of this canyon, I never had my GoPro turned on. And that was probably the hardest part of that canyon. Bottlenecked, people helping each other get over obstacles and stuff like that. Yeah, so that's great. So here we are, still working our way up this canyon. We've kind of bunched back up and we're helping each other up this spot up here on the left. I'm out of water. I have no right foot peg. And a little while before this, I realized I've got a fuel leak. One of my fuel lines has got a crack in it, and I don't have any fuel line to replace it. So I'm a little anxious about running out of fuel. I keep checking the fuel level, and when I shut the bike off, the pressure built up in the line just runs down onto the ground. So hopefully we get out of this canyon soon.
Almost had it. Almost.
So we're running into a time limit where we've only got so much time you can be on the course before they start closing checkpoints, and I think 5 hours and 15 minutes, 5.5 hours, something like that is our time limit. And so we were just informed that, hey, you guys can make it to checkpoint 3, but you gotta hustle. And I'm running on just a little bit of fuel, so just about, I think this is the very top of that canyon. So relieved to get out of that canyon. We still got, some trail ahead of us, obviously, but it's going to get progressively easier until we get to checkpoint 3. So it's a relief to be back on just a regular 2-track road. We're just making our way down this road until we can get to checkpoint 3, and we're pretty much going to be timed out at that point. When you get to checkpoint 3, if you had more time than right past checkpoint 3, you would make a right-hand turn and drop down to checkpoint 4. But because we're timing out, we're coming up here and this is kind of the end of our race.
Hey, good job.
So I'm just cruising in on fumes here, just heading beeline back to the pits. I've got about 3 inches of fuel left in my tank, so I'm hoping I don't have to push it, but I'm also hoping I can get back to the pits where my gas is. So I'm cruising in. I know Chocolate Thunder's just over the top of this rise. I think I'm gonna make it, and then the bike starts to bog.
Shit.
So I resort to pushing. I know this is a long video, but it's kind of hard to take 5.5 hours of footage and chop it down to 30 minutes, but appreciate you watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you like, go ahead and like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. See ya.